Welcome back to the Mad Bell podcast. In this episode, we're talking with Engine Captain Zach Kirsch, creator, founder of the Autism for Awareness for First Responders training that's been floating around all over the socials right now, mostly through the Orangeburg Fire Department Facebook page. This is to find out what this training is about, how to book it, and what to look out for as we're seeing more and more of these trainings pop up. I think Zach has 9 scheduled at this point. So check it out, enjoy the podcast, and make sure you share this episode. Thanks for listening to the Mad Bell podcast. All right, welcome back to the Mad Bell podcast. It's been a minute since I did an episode, mainly because this guy and me are super busy with just regular fire department duties. But I will say that there are topics that come along, and we've talked about doing this episode for a while, that you have to put the time aside and just make it happen. We have another event that's coming up that is going to be a surprise, so we're not going to talk about that today. And that's going to be more of a fun, countywide side sort of event. But today we are here to talk to you about the autism awareness training that Zach Kirsch, my co-captain, my engine captain, here at the Augsburg Fire Department, was driven to create with a little bit of assistance for some others, but Zach is the mastermind behind this training, this free. I'm going to highlight the word free training. That's been it's really gotten some traction, wouldn't you say, Zach?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've said it before. It's taken off like a rocket, exploded into something I never dreamt of it happening, or none of us that put it together happening. And
Yeah.
I think it's just a good thing, happen.
So before we dive into all those details, Zach, why don't you introduce yourself? Give us the background for your fire service, and then what motivated you to create this opportunity for our fellow first responders.
Yep. So, like Frank said, Zach Kirsch, 18 years in the fire service. Started when I was 14 as a junior, outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Was down there, lived down there for 16 years. Moved back to PA where I grew up. In 2021, joined the Augsburg Fire Department. I currently serve as the engine captain, like Frank said. Um, I have a 2-year-old son, a wife, a dog. Of course, you got to throw the golden retriever in there. Noah's companion, which is my son. You'll hear me call Noah. But basically, how this all came about is myself, Frank, obviously, and one of our chauffeurs at the fire department, Ben Jones. All some way have dealt with autism or been affected by it. And you're seeing the numbers rise of emergency incidents involving people on the autism spectrum, and just saw a need of spreading the awareness, spreading the knowledge to maybe help change negative outcomes for emergencies involving those individuals that are in need.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty direct. My involvement was sort of minimal. Ben and Zach, they're directly affected by autism because your son and Ben's son as well, and were where I came in was just to kind of help Zach with some of the behind the scenes stuff, maybe help with presenting. But my history is just working in mental health, working with children with behavioral problems, and learning disabilities and stuff like that. And I have a history of being accustomed to working in those environments. So Zach asked me for some help, and it didn't. I don't think either one of us, when at first I was like, "Yeah, this is great." Like we don't know what kind of response there's going to be because there's never been that we know of and that we could find prior to putting this together. That has since changed, but we'll get into that or not, whatever. There just wasn't an opportunity or an awareness aspect to bring this information out, right?
Correct.
So that prompted a conversation, lots of text messages, meetings, A lot of back and forth about a presentation, which took us to the first event at the Monte City Fire Department. Do you want to let's talk about that first event and
Yeah.
what kind of the things involved with the training and some of the topics that are discussed, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Frank had said, very first event was September the 29th of this past year, 25. Um, put the feelers out there, kind of wanted to see where the training would go. Obviously, it's entirely free at no cost for anybody. Make sure to highlight that because there's been some people that have said it's for monetary gain. I assure you it's not.
Really
Um, yeah, yeah,
interesting.
there's
Great
bad
news.
eggs in it all.
Yeah, sure.
Um, but yep, so at West End, Monterey City, they were very gracious to allow us to use their large social hall with partnerships with like Shepton Oneida Fire, who agreed to host it with us. My regular job, sponsoring the dinner and doing that. The Eagles Foundation, Autism Foundation, everybody really came together, and it was just very, very good for the community. And you expect 45 people to show up. And that night we actually had 127 first responders in police, fire, dispatch, EMS, community leaders, community members that are affected by autism show up. And it was really good. It really showed that it can be a civilized, open forum to put the community first, which is how it should be.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about that day was that we had unknowingly we had some parents who had some kind of relation to the emergency responders with experience dealing with it as well and kind of included them in the conversation. And it really provided a great back and forth feedback sort of discussion amongst the topics that we went through during the training, right? So, it's definitely not a rigid, listen, we all know what it's like going to fire department trainings, and it's like watching paint dry. You know, they're tough to sit through, and this is not one of those trainings, but I digress. Let's talk about the topics. Let's talk about let's talk about some statistics.
Sure.
Okay. Let's hit that and let's get into some of the hard hitting topics specifically geared toward the fire service, but we can, you
Sure.
can add in what you need to here and there.
Awesome. Yeah, so statistics, I mean, obviously autism has grown nationwide. There's been more diagnosis than ever of those in need, and they're finding different things that cause autism. But 1 in 31 children in the U.S., these are all in the U.S., have autism or are diagnosed through a medical professional to have autism. 1 in 45 adults have autism in the US. It's usually 4 in 100 boys and then 1 in 100 girls. So boys are more about 4 times more likely to have that diagnosis. But in a whole, just to give a perspective of why, a big key indicator of why we needed this program is that autism since 2000 has grown 384% over the US. Now that comes from the Autism and Develop Disabilities Monitoring Network. So, very reliable source and confirmed by many health professionals that have seen that rise. But it really struck a need, especially being directly affected in that situation.
Yeah. And I guess another aspect of that is because it's growing, the number of diagnosis and the amount of children and adults, but children out there that are being diagnosed. So that's increasing the amount of opportunity that us as emergency responders are going to come up against a situation that's going to involve an autistic child, albeit search and rescue, whether it's structure fires, car accidents, you know, um, getting some kind of notification upon dispatch that you're going into an incident with a patient or a victim that is autistic or has special needs of some kind, and recognizing that early on so that when you're arriving. you're not um what's the word? Exasperating the situation by coming in lights and sirens. So let's get into some of those incidents and like some of the hot ticket points of the presentation and stuff that you think, you know, we want people to learn about and come and book this training, which we'll get into in the end how to do that. Let's get
Yeah,
into that, Zach.
absolutely. So I mean, each we'll call it a division or emergency area has kind of its own broken down little area. So I'll, kind of quick run through those. Like first we start with dispatch. 911 dispatchers. Obviously, they're the front line and the ones that are going to be dealing with the situation first. Um, the more I talk to different telecommunicators, 911 dispatchers, communications experts, and being part of that for 15 years, you see that there's not really any training or any different type of questions that should be asked when dealing with a either an autistic individual, a special needs individual, whatever it might be. And you just kind of go through those, like what triggers they have, what calms them down to de-escalate a situation. What are they most attracted to? So if they do go missing, are they going to venture towards water? Are they going to venture towards the woods, the road, because they like cars, whatever that might be? And then I think the most important thing to ask in that situation is who their caretaker is and what's their safe space. Um, Again, every autistic individual is different. You can never treat one the same as the other. You really have to step back and look at what their different mechanisms are or triggers. And I think that's most important for definitely for dispatch. Moving on to the firefighter side, which is where we are. Scene safety is always number one. But you have to look at the situation and kind of what you're responding to. Your personal protective equipment or PPE may cause a sensory overload to the patient or the family that it's involving. If there's, a person that with special needs there. And then you definitely, I mean, we'll circle back to it 100 times. You have to get the family involved and really rely on that caretaker if available, because nobody's going to know that child or individual better than them. As far as the police side, I'm not a police officer, but I included it with the guidance of many police officers, some of which have autistic children. And the main thing that they all said was you have to try and avoid escalation from physical restraint or recognizing that there might be some sort of behaviors that may come across as combative or defiant, but they're actually not being that way. Too many times you see a police incident involving a special needs individual that they may not have had training to respond to, that they're taking things as threats that may not be threats, which then escalates the situation. So it's kind of, just a brief overlook of know when to disengage, know when to go get support, and again, find that caretaker to help de-escalate, calm the presence, and take a step back to see the big picture. As far as EMS, that's the toughest one because all agencies are going to have their own protocols, SOPs, SOGs with
Or
certain response
hopefully,
times.
hopefully they
Yeah,
do.
hopefully. Some might not, and that opens their eyes to maybe forming that. Anytime EMS is involved, you got to have that consent. Vital signs on an autistic individual, speaking for my son, you're not going to get a pulse ox on him. He's going to throw it off. He doesn't like things tight on his fingers. He'll probably fight you regardless of if you're trying to put a blood pressure cuff on, whatever it might be. Um, you got to learn their touch tolerance. As far as, pain, if they are in pain, they may not show it right away, when you're doing a patient assessment, or it might be very, very, very exaggerated, depending on how it affects that individual. You may need to use visual cues. You might need to use writing tools if they're nonverbal. Some have, like Noah has an iPad. He can push, mom, dad, if he wants food, water, whatever it might be. It's all in his little iPad. He knows how to scroll and to help him communicate. So, just making sure you really, really, really look at the situation, kind of get a general idea of what you may encounter with your patient or family involving the patient, And then again, it falls back to finding that caretaker to
Yeah.
help you get that child or patient the help he or she needs most effectively.
Let and just because there's going to be people who will listen to this who are not familiar with autism at all. You talked about Noah, how Noah has an iPad. Noah is considered a specific level. Can you
Yep.
discuss, because we talked about this obviously at the first training, like just one of the common themes of understanding autism is that once you've met a single person with autism, you've only met a single person with autism, because no SOG, no protocol, no, there's no cookie cutter way of dealing with this population um, of students and adults, because they all will respond differently to different things. Like there's no cookie cutter. There's no cut and dry. This is what you do in case of this. That's partly the biggest challenge of dealing with people with autism. So there's levels to autism. Can you just discuss in general
Yeah.
what those levels are? Because that will trigger, um, should trigger some kind of, hey, well, let's do this for those who watch this and maybe haven't had the training.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three levels of autism. Level one is high functioning. So they may need some support, but their social and communication skills are going to be very, a lot better than a nonverbal autistic person. So they might noticeably be able to do that without any support, communicate, talk to you, have different stemming methods, that kind of thing. Level two, which is what Noah is, they need like substantial support. Their social and communication skills, repetitive behaviors, and anything like that are going to need a lot of support. Meaning myself or my wife, if Noah's trying to communicate, he might not communicate with you because he's not comfortable, or he might get his iPad to help him do so. That's level two. It's kind of the mid one. Level three is severe autism, which means they need very, very, very substantial support. They have no social or communication skills most times. Their repetitive behaviors severely impair their daily life, meaning if you change that repetitive behavior, it might set them off to a different level or escalate the situation. So level one to three, complete opposite. Level two in the middle can be complete opposite of the other two. So that's why it's very important to find out kind of what level it is, number one, and number two, remember some of the key indicators for those exact levels.
Perfect. So because we are a fire service related podcast, if someone who's watching this podcast comes across a call, let's talk from incident commander to incoming crews to what information you get on dispatch. What are some like key steps that a fire department can take on as soon as they obtain some level of information that they're dealing with a patient that has autism, whether it's a car accident, whether it's a fire, whether it's a search and rescue, whatever it is? What's some quick key takeaways that we can recommend
Mhm.
fire departments do to help themselves and help this victim?
Yeah, so I think with anything fire related, the mentality is run and gun, break doors down. But you really have to slow down, whether that be um, like you said, the incident commander, a backstepping firefighter, the officer on the rig, whatever that might be. Step back, kind of gain the situation, especially if you don't have any like pre-arrivals of what you might be walking into or dealing with. I think my biggest recommendation is, again, find the caretaker and figure out what you're dealing with first. If you cannot find the caretaker, take it really slow. Don't overload that patient, or it may even be the caller for whatever emergency is going on. In the presentation, there's a lot of videos that were sent to me or recommended to show callers versus patients. Autistic individuals may call just because they're bored. They may call because they're lonely and it's their birthday and they want a police officer to come sing them happy birthday. Whatever that might be, I think step back, go slow, have more reaction to the situation, but just having the patience versus the run and gun mentality in the fire service, at least, and all services, is your best start.
Yeah, I guess maybe an additional aspect to that too is if upon dispatch that you're getting notice that there's an individual trapped in a house, say we have a house fire that is autistic and the caretaker or parent or whomever is with that person is telling dispatch this, I guess part of that is lights and sirens.
Hmm.
I get, and this is where the inner struggle happens from the fire service, and one of the reasons that I kind of got involved in this is it's the understanding. I was like, there's a time that you have to go, there's a time that you have to slow down, and there may be a time later on where it's like, okay, now this has to happen because our backs are against the wall. We need to get this person out. So, lights and sirens, right? We talked about that. If you're an incident commander, you get there. Oh, you have a frantic parent. My son, my daughter, they have autism. They're in the basement. The fire's on the first floor. That incident commander can communicate that back to county and advise, incoming engine, incoming tower, ladder, whatever. Once you hit blah, 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 kill your siren, just come in the scene. Leave your lights on, come in the scene. Like there's little steps that we can do to help to not escalate our own problem and just to help prevent maybe sensory overload and stuff like that for that specific. I mean, we already know how loud um, structure fires are. Just the volume. You got pump primers going, you got engines, high RPMs, pushing out water. You have all of the things. So it's already going to, we don't need to add to that. And just like, so we have to kind of have our head on a swivel, but more importantly, be ready to communicate that to incoming units and explain what's happening. Don't be afraid to mention it over the radio. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
No, it's good. That's good stuff, man. So what happened is, we did this one up in Monoy. Shout out to that crew and appreciate them for letting us speak to their crew and all of the people that came to it. And then, like in no time, Zach's like, "Oh, I got a request to go here, and I got a request to go there." And wouldn't you know, every date he gives me, like my son has a basketball game, and I haven't been able to help, so I'm a terrible teammate on this endeavor right now. But we'll be doing another one together here in the future. And then all of a sudden, it took off.
Yeah.
How many presentations are you up that have been done and or are scheduled at this point in time?
Total, I think we're at nine in
Crazy,
since September.
crazy.
They're booked out all the way through
Approximately.
May.
Approximately how many firefighters, emergency responders, do you think that's going to reach?
Total after all the classes, upwards of over 2,000, I would
Crazy.
say.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's
So,
not just first responders. I mean, that we had in the first class, the local amusement park sent some people up
yeah,
that they are interested in doing a class. And they're interested in knowing how to respond inside their facilities for a missing autistic person. So that's to come down the road, but it's just neat seeing not only just responders, but teachers, community leaders, um, yeah, community members, parents come to these classes. And we have our structured PowerPoint that we go through that is, I will say, dumbified for first responders. But it's nice to have those other community members or parents be there to engage in conversation and say what they've gone through, just to give another light or perspective of how different each individual is. So yeah, it's been
yeah.
good.
No, it's been great. I guess and like I said with word getting out, you were just on 105.5
Yes,
which is
this
that your
morning.
first say you do have a face for radio, just so you know. But is that your first time like on the radio doing that sort
Uh,
of
for
situation?
autism, yes, I've
Yeah.
been on the radio before for
Oh,
different
okay. All
reasons,
right.
but it was really nice. And then the crazy thing is I don't reach out to these places to
Yeah, they're finding it
engage it.
organically. Organically.
Organically, yes.
Yes.
There's the
Let's shout
word.
out to Scott Rarick. He knows what that
Yes.
is. Um,
Very organically.
um,
Mm.
anyway,
As far as
who's the
future
whacker?
trainings,
Hold on a second. Do you hear that?
mm,
My Zillow on in the background, and I forgot to turn it off.
oh man, whacker. He is approved. He turned his signed form in.
Oh,
So
oh, there it
shout
is.
out Schuylkill County.
All right, there. Turned
But
it off.
future trainings, the next one is January the 20th. And January the 20th is really pretty cool. With the assistance, or I always find like a hosting company to do so. That one is Burnville Fire Department in Berks County. We put a feeler out there. There was a lot of people inquiring if they could if I could have one in Berks County. So we set it up, not knowing what was going to come of it. And very quickly we realized that the amount of interest and people signed up, we outgrew the Burnville Fire Department. So Penn Tolpahawken Elementary, through the Tolpahawken School District, offered us to use their facility. They're also sending a large group of individuals, teachers, to the program to give input and give guidance for the patient, not direct patients, but patients that they've seen in their first due response area, which
Hmm.
I thought was, incredible for them to ask to come do that. The superintendent over all that, very nice. And he's looking forward to attending the class himself. So that was cool. February the 10th is the next one. That's at Pine Grove Hose Hook and Ladder. That's being hosted by Hose Hook and Ladder and North End Fire out of Pine Grove. So two companies in Pine Grove agreed to, throw one together. Nice banquet hall there. Grateful that they're able to do that. The first one we had to reschedule there because of an ice storm, but we were able to get it on the books pretty quickly, and I know the turnout for that one's going to be really good for those that didn't get to attend the first one in Schuylkill County. Fast forward to March 10th. That one is going to the eastern side of Schuylkill County. Hometown Fire Department, they sent probably 10 people to the first ever class. Got nothing but great reviews on it. They really enjoyed it. They learned a lot. They spread it, and they had community members and fire departments all around them ask if we could put one on there. Tamaqua Ambulance Association, same thing. So they're actually partnering up. It's going to be at the Hometown Fire Department March 10th. And that's already, I think we're at over 109 shares on Facebook. I've had the radio station reach out that I did do this morning. And from that, I've had a lot of people reach out, and I want to say there's going to be upwards of over, close to 100, 150 there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then a couple other ones in the pipeline I don't have set dates for. Different counties, Lehigh County. I already did one in Dauphin County. They're requesting I come back and do another one. So it's been really, really, really good. Um, one other date to throw out, April 4th. As you can see behind me, my background, obviously that's the Orwigsburg Fire Department Autism patch. That shout out to one of our lieutenants, Bobby Bechtel, got made for us kind of by surprise, but to support the program as the OFD has done from the very beginning for not just me, but Frank and Ben, anybody associated with it. We're doing a sensory touch-a-truck. So basically what that is a quiet touch-a-truck. You go to these touch-a-trucks and they like to blare the sirens. They like to hit the horns, and you don't want a sensory overload, like you said earlier.
Hmm.
So it's good to have. It's very open to anybody that would like to attend, but it's specifically directed at those that may have sensory issues. And that's not just autism, that's in general, Some
Hmm.
people don't like lights and sirens, they scare them. They can come enjoy that without having to worry about it. Um, that again is April 4th. It'll be in Orwigsburg. Still working on some of the details for that, but we do have police confirmed, tow truck confirmed, ambulance confirmed, and then of course fire trucks confirmed. During that time, obviously with it being Autism Awareness Month in April, we got some shirts made. that have the patch that's behind me. I have one I can show you. I don't know if the camera will show it, but with the help of a local crafting business, Ashley, her name is, she's the owner. Her husband's a chief in Schuylkill Haven. She offered to make these shirts for us to promote autism awareness, and we partnered with her. We're going to be selling those. They're $20 each, from sizes small to 3XL, all $20, and then any proceeds that come of that are going to be donated to Dustin's Adventureland Playground in Minersville. That is a sensory friendly, special needs friendly playground in the community. And they were very gracious and nice and welcoming. Obviously, when you take your children there or whoever to enjoy the playground, but just a nice way to give back and then spread autism awareness with our t-shirts, which let me grab this one.
Yeah, go ahead, grab it. I don't. If not, I'll put the images of the shirts in the episode, probably like right here while I'm talking about it, so
Yeah.
everybody can see the made up images. But yeah, well, we can kind of
Great
see it.
t There
Yeah,
we
you
go.
can see the patch.
Great t-shirt.
There you go.
Orangeburg Fire. Like Frank said,
Yeah, I'll put
he'll
them in
put it
there.
on there for everybody. There'll be an order form attached to it.
Hmm.
Uh, you can arrange pickup on pickup dates, but moving forward, once they do come in, they'll be available at all of our classes as well to enjoy and
Yeah,
just
help
give back a
support.
little bit, which is why this whole program was created,
You
not
know what
for
would be
us.
cool is if we raised enough money to buy like a fire truck dedicated or fire service dedicated like piece of equipment for Dustin's Adventureland.
That'd
And
be
then
pretty
like
cool.
have like a yeah, that would be awesome. But ideas.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, I guess Zach, as of right now, where and how do you look for and register for these events? Because
Mhm.
it's it's mainly been through your own personal Facebook page. So is that the direction we're continuing right now?
I would say for now, yes, just easier to keep up with. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but
Yeah,
eventually,
we might have to talk about that. Maybe have like a central location for this stuff
yeah,
here in
yeah,
the
an
future.
email or its own
Yeah.
Facebook page,
Well,
especially if we could
we could put it
keep
on the
it
fire
going.
department website for the time being as a central
Yeah,
location for registration links and all
yeah.
that stuff.
There'll be a flyer made for
For
each
each
class,
one. Yep.
obviously. Those will always be shared on social media by the hosting companies, myself, and then like I said, there hundreds of people share it. Radio stations, news stations, whatever that might be. Um, we're working on like signing up. Right now, it's open. If you want to just email the department of who's hosting it or me, or shoot me a message and let them know you're coming, that's awesome too. Down the road, in the bigger scheme of things, when the classes do continue to grow and there's more than 150 people coming. Uh, we'll have sign up sheets and stuff like that, just to kind of see, not because it's a certification or anything, but just to see where people are coming from. I think the first one, once we sat down and looked at it, 130, I think it was 137 people over
Hmm.
36 or 37 different agencies, which is
Yeah.
neat to see just kind of where it's reached out to. But for the time being, it'll be posted on social media, the flyers, the departments that are hosting, our department will always share it. And yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. What we'll do is we'll start posting all of the flyers, all of the events. We'll start posting them through the Madbell podcast just to support, no like we'll put the registration information there. You're not registering through the podcast. Podcast is just a fake name for a bunch of people getting together to talk. So there's nothing formal to that, but just so that there's at least a place that you can focus on it and find it. Because our fire department Facebook page is super, super active. There's constantly updates there, so you can get lost in
Mhm.
the shuffle. But and then as things progress, so you can register at Zach's emails on all the flyers and the information on where to go and how to get set up. If you are interested in hosting a autism awareness for first responders class, you can reach out to us through the podcast. If you can't find Zach, or reach out to Zach and we'll help get that situation started. If you would like to order a t-shirt in the show comments, so this is going to be like on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that stuff, and we'll share it through social media. The
the link to buy a t-shirt to help support Dustin's Adventureland is going to be in the show comments and in the show information. So that will be available to you. They're $20. It's going to be like a Google form link. You go in, you put your name, your email, your phone number, what size, how many shirts, and then there's a link to pay. Um, and again, so 100% of those proceeds go there for that purpose. And again, these classes have been 100% free for everyone who has taken it, um, which is pretty awesome. There are some paid classes out there from other entities like and stuff like that. There's some others that are trying to start their own thing, which is cool. More the merrier. But like Zach's kind of like the OG for this area of bringing this to light, doing it with the help of a couple of close friends and getting it up off the ground. And now it's really exploded to something amazingly positive.
Yeah, and I think one thing I do want to add that I forgot to say earlier, when it comes to like early indicators, a lot of the local emergency communications centers are implementing a thing where you can call in, fill out a form, whatever it might be, to give information regarding an autistic individual or a special needs individual that lives within your area. For example, my address shows that I have a 2-year-old nonverbal autistic, or excuse me, 4-year-old non-verbal autistic individual. So they have that, and that will go out to the responders if they're ever responding here. A lot of counties do that, and it's very important, to have those early indicators. So reach out to them and see if they have something like that. And then, obviously, just one closing comment I wanted to give is this program was obviously created for everybody, but it's very important to know that you never know when an autistic individual, somebody has a relationship with that. Speaking for people I work with at the 911 center, where else, some have children that are autistic. Some have brothers that are autistic. Some have friends that are autistic. It doesn't matter. It's about just spreading autism awareness and giving them a fighting chance during an emergency situation
Hmm.
and de-escalating that versus reacting to it. I think is the main push for this. And obviously, Frank telling me to get off my rear, stop sobbing about Noah getting diagnosed, and let's do something positive that'll not only honor him, but will help everybody else.
I wouldn't. I mean, I wasn't the only person, but you and I have we have a unique friendship because we hit it off early on because of both of our fathers died while we were young men, and and he's and Zach and Tiff are parents of a young person, and my background in education and mental health and all that stuff. Like we had some candid conversations before Noah was diagnosed. And a reality set in and like maybe it was more of like a confidence level of like
Yeah.
of moving forward with okay, let's find out. And then, it has to feel like a big in some ways. It feels like some pressure is off of your shoulders because you've faced like that hard thing, right?
Oh, yeah, the hardest part was just accepting the fact that something was different with Noah. And I don't want to go into all the stimming methods because
No, no,
then you
no.
won't come to the class, but
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
no. But
that's the hardest part for any parent. And I can speak for any parent because I truly feel, anytime you're told something's wrong with your child or different with
oh
your
yeah,
child, you're
yeah,
like, man, down in the dumps. I was sad, I was mad, I was angry, not at him, but just at the situation in general.
yeah,
And with the help of friends like Frank, take a step back, take a breath. Everything's going to be all right, but you got to be the biggest advocate for not only Noah, but all of those involved. And it's their only chance of ever regaining that normality than
sure,
being
absolutely. Early
labeled as different.
intervention. And I think that, and I know like you don't want to go into details, and I'm not asking you. I think that what you just said was perfect. I think what the important or the way to frame the conversation for your own understanding and for others out there is there might be somebody that listens to this that is in that same place that you and Tiff were at one point in
Mhm.
time, not knowing what was going on.
Right.
And if they hear this podcast and this information and potentially it drives them to be like, you know what, it's okay. Let's just move forward. Um, we're doing the right thing because then it's worth having that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely.
with that
Absolutely.
being said, I think we covered it all, man. I mean,
I think
we
so.
got the events, we got the registration, we kind of touched a little bit upon the actual class itself.
Hmm.
Um, who knows what direction this whole thing it could turn into its own thing someday. Who knows? There's a lot, we have a lot of irons in the fire as it is. But as your friend, I'll always be here to support you in that regard, obviously. But
Yeah. Appreciate it.
I am also will willingly say that I am proud of you for how far you've come through this journey. And Noah, through this and through this learning opportunity, is helping other kids with autism without even knowing it. And I think
Yeah.
that's like a silver lining to this whole situation, and realizing like really when it comes down to it, Noah's the one that has provided this opportunity to help so many people. And it's been a crossroads of the fire service and you as being a parent that has created it,
Yep.
with the help of your son. So it's an amazing
Absolutely.
opportunity. And for those of you that are out there, thanks for listening to the podcast. Zach, thanks for coming on. And
Absolutely. Thank you.
watch out. Again, I'm going to say it now, probably a month out or more before we make any announcements, but watch for another major event coming in the fall. That's going to be another fundraising event. Very, very good cause. And,
Good.
and check back with us on that one. So,
Maybe around September.
somewhere around September. I mean, yeah, somewhere in there. We don't know exactly the exact date yet, but somewhere in September. Mm, Yeah, that. All right, man. We're done.
Yep.
Peace out,
Thanks.
people. Thanks for joining in.
Absolutely.
For listening to the podcast. Click this QR code, just pause it right here to order your Autism for Awareness t-shirt. And then check out our upcoming events, the Autism First Responders, January 20th in Burnville, and the Senior Sensory Friendly Open House at the Orangeburg Fire Department.